Welcome to Memphis, Tennessee, home to the legendary Barcades. Tonight, we explore the roots of this iconic band and celebrate 50 years of funk. This is All Access.
It's the Holy Ghost. I shake it all in my bones. I never felt such a feeling.
Would you please put your hands together for the mighty Barcades?
Core of the guys met in junior high school, but we had aspirations for doing something other than being in a marching band. So we would meet over this guy's house every Saturday. We started just playing together, and then we got after I had gotten in the group, we got good enough to start playing some like little back in the day it was school dances, but they called them sock hops. So we started playing sock hops, and then our popularity started getting a little bigger, and then we were going through this transition with these names, from the Rivieras to the Imperials, and then how we came of being the Barcades was we were driving around, and we had these aspirations of wanting to own a ranch. So okay, if we have a ranch, we call it Barcade Ranch. We just talking. We don't know what we talking about. We're just talking. And then we saw this billboard that said Bacardi rum, and this bar gang. Oh, I said, man, let's just call this thing the Barcades. And boom, just like that. Then the Barcades were born. This was back, prior, right around 1964, somewhere around in that area. And, we just some like little young kids, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were just doing something, but we know that it felt good. We found out about this guy by the name of Steve Cropper. So we asked him, could we come down and audition for him? So we went out and auditioned for him.
I found out that they went to both Steve and Al, Steve Cropper and Al Jackson, and asked them, to teach them.
And we thought we were hot. He thought we were not. He didn't think that much of it. He said, man, well, what you think? He said, y'all all right. Y'all all right. That didn't deter us or anything like that. So he said, y'all don't have enough going for me to, sign y'all or nothing like that. Okay. Can we come back and audition again? Yeah. So, mind you, all the time, every weekend we playing at this club that we're not supposed to be in. So, about a week or so later, we go and audition again. I said, man, I'm telling y'all don't got it. Y'all ain't got nothing going on. So, when we left the second time, the owner of Stax Records, at that time, a gentleman by the name of Jim Stewart, he saw us, he said, who are y'all? We said, we're just some little guys, little group. He said, I tell you what, will y'all come back up here next Sunday? And we said, why? He said, well, I just want y'all to come back up here. Please come back up here next Sunday. I said, okay.
And help them play music and play their instruments. And I think it was Al Jackson that started with them and started teaching them, and they really became, as time went on, like an extension of the MGs, because they became Booker T and the MGs Jr.
Oh,
fun as hell. I mean, it's good to be here for the Barcades. I've been knowing them over 50 years, and it's good to be here to say you've been here 50 years. You know, they was with us on the mothership when we took off, so it's good to be here for them. I promise the funk promise to keep his promise, you'll keep the funk.
Seeing them from time to time come in and out of the studio, and initially I didn't even know they were musicians or wanted to be musicians. I just see these young fellas in and out of the studio, and I didn't pay too much attention. And as a matter of fact, they were very good.
And you know, we were too young. We didn't even know about groove. We didn't know groove started with a G. We didn't know what groove was. But we fell into this little groove, man, and all we knew was everybody started looking around at each other. You know, man, that sounds kind of cool. You know what I mean? But you know, we didn't think nothing of it. So this was Saturday night. So we were going down to the studio. That's on this Sunday. So Jim Stewart asked us when we got in there, he said, hey, I want y'all to play something. And so immediately we went to this little groove.
What they feel, and people, they interact with people and they feel, they're playing what they feel, but they're feeling you as they're playing.
You know, when something affects him in a positive way, he twitches. Now I know that, not twerk, but twitch. He doing stuff like that, you know, like that. And so we played this little groove, and he started doing all this stuff like this. You know, what's that? We said, just a little old thing we got. So then he ran up in the control room. He ran down there and he said, when I point to y'all, you know, just play whatever you got from the beginning. So Ben Cawley, he came up with this like little nursery rhyme idea, you know. You know, just like dun, 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 dun. But he didn't do that. He just said dun. And man, all I can tell you is 30 minutes later, we had a song called Soul Finger. Blessing. It just happened, just like that. That was our first hit record. It happened just like that.
But they're feeling you as they're playing. I mean, you hear it in Soul Finger. I mean, that was when you listen to that, you hear the essence of the Barcades when you listen to Soul Finger. Soul Finger. I mean, that's today when I hear it on radio or wherever, it's like I just heard that record for the first time. And I get the same feeling when I hear it today that I got years ago when I heard that complete record. And I don't know whether to call that my favorite record or the record that inspires me, motivates me, or whatever. But that's the one, Soul Finger.
I'm Candy. I'm Val.
Farrah.
These are all the lovely ladies of the Mary Jane Girls. Listen, lady, with a night out with so many stars and the Barcades, what do you expect tonight?
We expect a great big party, Kansas. The show is going to be fabulous, and we're here to have a wonderful good time and celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Barcades.
Okay, I'm going to give each of y'all one word to describe the Barcades for me, okay?
Funk. Love.
Partying.
entertainers like to go out, so Otis said, you know, what's the hot club in town? And they told him there was this club called the Hippodrome. So here comes Otis Redding down to the Hippodrome, and he see this little band called the Barkays on stage, and he's impressed. So he wants to come up on stage and sit in. And he did come up on stage, and he started, he called out a song. And I guess what impressed him the most, he called out the song, and we kicked it off, and we never rehearsed with him before in our lives, and we played the song. So he told the owners of the club, he said, who are these guys? He said, this is my house band, this is the Barkays. He said, well, I want them to be my band. So we said, okay, let's talk to our parents about it. And of course, our parents said no, because we were still in high school. The rest of the Barkays were graduating that year anyway. I was the only one that was in the 11th grade, so they were graduating. The day that we graduated, we left and went on the road with Otis Redding. The first gig that we ever played with him was at the Apollo Theater in New York City. Now imagine some guys from Memphis, Tennessee, country bumpkins, if you will, never been 50-mile radius of you know, Memphis and the surrounding area. We never been nowhere. So we definitely were some squares from nowhere. The day before we went to the last show, that weekend we had, you know, Otis had a private plane. So he would fly from Macon, Georgia, where he from, and pick us up, and then we would go to, you know, our shows. And that day, we went and did a TV show called Upbeat. And I'm pretty sure you probably saw footage where we were performing with Otis, doing trial attendance and all of that stuff like that. And we did that in the daytime. And that night, we did the show. We did 2 shows at Leo's Casino in Cleveland, Ohio. And that was the last, I mean, little did I know that would be the last show time that we would do a show together.
That's all you got to do. Now it might be a little bit sentimental, no. But she has her grease and hair, yeah. But the soft words, they are spoke so gentle, yeah. And it makes it easy to bear.
What we did, since we had 12 people traveling in our entourage, what we did was we dropped everybody off at the hangar where the private plane was, and myself and a gentleman by the name of Carl Sims. We dropped them off at the hangar, and we had 2 rental vehicles. So we turned them in, and we would always take a commercial flight. So this particular day, myself and Carl Sims took the commercial flight, and the pilot came up with something real unique. Our next stop from Cleveland, Ohio was Madison, Wisconsin. We were playing at the University of Wisconsin. So he said, instead of flying to Madison, why don't you guys just fly to Milwaukee? I dropped them off in Madison, and I come to Milwaukee and pick you up. It's fine. So he on his final approach, flying in from Cleveland to Madison, the plane crashed.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, and then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.
And they said, we'll send somebody to Milwaukee to pick y'all up. And so they sent the authorities. The authorities came to Milwaukee and took us back to Madison. And then later we found that everyone on the plane was killed. There was one survivor, and he was in the hospital. We didn't have any word on how he was doing. So, first off, I want to get to the hospital to see who it is and who survived and all of that. But mind you, I'm 17 years old. I'm in shock. So, I don't know what to do. And little did I know that when something like that happens, the way it goes, whoever the surviving person is has the duties, has to be the person, the survivor has to be the person to identify, whoever the deceased was. So the authorities came and got me. They took me to the morgue, city morgue, and then I was there with the task to start identifying everybody.
I'm just gonna sit at the dock of a bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm sitting on the dock of a bay,
Now,
wasting time.
by that time, Otis Redding's wife is Zelma Redding. She had flown. This was still Sunday. This was like late Sunday evening. Flights were more accessible. I mean, now she was in Macon, Georgia. Someone drove her to Atlanta. She got on a flight and came to Madison, Wisconsin. She got there late that night, and she asked me, because she was coming to identify her husband. But once she got there, she said that James, I can't do it. Would you identify my husband? Well, first of all, this happened like on a Sunday, December the 10th, 1967. She, they didn't find all of the bodies at the same time. First off, they'd only found 2 or 3 people. In fact, they didn't find Otis until that Tuesday. And when they found him, I mean, you'll see pictures. I don't know if you've seen pictures of him. He was still strapped in his seat. And so I had to identify him along with everybody else.
That was a very, very difficult and painful period for me. For Otis was closer to me than a brother, a dear, 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 dear friend. As a matter of fact, I couldn't listen to any Otis Redding records for about 15 years or maybe longer. After that, I couldn't stand to hear it. And the Barkays were like my sons, but also like my little brothers. And to realize that these young men that I loved and felt so close to were gone and had died the way they had died, I don't know quite how to explain the feeling. I feel it now. It was really a painful period. And it took me a long time, it's not gone now, a long time to deal with that. When I see pictures of the original guys during the 50th anniversary, there were some original pictures that I saw that, in the photo book and all of that, and it brought all of that back to me. It was hard just looking, at the pictures even today.
Looking back on it and thinking back on it, it's really eerie because we had these conversations about that, guys, just sitting around, just like we're sitting around now, talking about, we're saying, hey, if something ever happens to any of us, whoever is left, please carry on. And believe it or not, that stuck in my mind subliminally. And that, with the help of the help of God, carried on, man. I mean, we carried on, and And there's always an old saying that, you know, God's not going to put on you no more than you can bear.
James lived that. That's why 50 years later, this year, the Barkays are still alive. They never stopped being creative. They never stopped, and James never stopped. Not only did they keep on under his leadership and working with a gentleman by the name of Alan Jones, who produced music on them. They really became the group that was creating a new era of music called funk music.
Bobby Harris Daz Band.
Skip Martin Daz Band.
Martin McLean Daz Band.
But tell me, what's one of you all's favorite Barkays tunes?
Oh, Freak Show.
Freak Show.
I like Attitude.
Attitude?
But actually, we put the thing together pretty quick. The accident happened in December of 1967. We debuted the new Barkays in April of 1968. So it was about, 120 days or so. We had another band. Well, Isaac Hayes, was a writer at Stax Records. And Isaac Hayes, David Porter, Al Bell, Alan Jones. These people kind of like took us, Booker T. Jones with Booker T and the MGs. They kind of like took us under their wing. Hey, these little young guys, they trying to do something. They kind of like took us under their wing and groomed us and developed us into what we did. I mean, cause still, mind you, we were still young. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and tell you that we knew what we was doing. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I think what made the Barkays sound unique initially as a band is that they could play like Booker T and the MGs, but they were younger, so they had a more youthful flair, if you will. It wasn't intentional or anything like that. It's just that they were younger, so they played a little different, and it had that youthful flair. I mean, the MGs were solid, and right on it, and you knew it was Booker T and the MGs. Well, and it was there. I mean, there's no question about it. But the Barkays, it was there, but there was some other kind of little thing, if you will. I don't know how to describe it because I'm not a musician or anything like that, but it was a youthful feel about it.
Then we had a series of songs like Copycat, a song called AJ the Housefly. The first album that we had when we put the new group together was called Gotta Groove. The Barkays Gotta Groove. Ask me where we got that name from. I have no earthly idea, but that's what it was. I mean, we standing up on the cover, like Superman or somebody. We standing up, had like a V shape. One guy right here, two guys on this side, like a V. You're standing up with your hands on your, Hey, we thought we was hot.
I'm Abdul Raouf, I'm with the SOS Band, Soul of the South TV. Doing it the right way. Take your time, do it right. 50 years for the Barkays. 50 years is good for anything.
In 1970, the Bar-Kays would introduce the first and only lead singer in the band's history, Larry Dodson.
Son of Shell. Larry brought, he really brought another Bar-Kays to the table. And when I say that, I mean that youthful flair, it was in Larry. And Larry was daring. He had the audacity to go on that stage, and he never said this, but he knew that he was doing what needed to be done to entertain those people out there in that audience. You knew that.
He had his own group, okay? He had a group called the Temprees.
I joined the Bar-Kays in 1970, and prior to that, I'd only been involved in one other group. That was a group called the Temprees, which I actually started in high school, and it was comprised of myself, Bill One Calvin, Jasper Phillips, they called him Jabbo, had a great voice, just a romantic voice, and Harold Scott.
They were a local, they were a local group. They were singing around town, and the funny part about it is, I went to see their show one night, and so I told him, I said, man, when y'all get through performing, I got something I want to talk to you about. And he said, you can talk to me now. So I asked him, I said, I got this idea, man. I got a band. And, as you well know, we've been an instrumental band all this time, but we think about putting a vocalist in the band. And we think about, we want to know if you'd be interested. And I didn't think he was going to say nothing about it because he got his own group, right? He said, yeah, I'm interested.
But it was the best move I could have made. I was flattered, very scared though, because like I said, Bar-Kays had always been an instrumental group. So for them to be considering having a frontman, a lead singer, was phenomenal.
As the story goes, he went back and told the rest of the guys that he was going to leave them and come with our group, and they jumped on him, man, and beat his ass, man. They jumped him. They beat him up, man, but he ended up being in the Bar-Kays, wounded and everything.
We're delighted to have with us a group of our very favorite people and certainly one of the great bands of all time, as they join us with still another from the long list of great songs they've been associated with, this one entitled Holy Ghost. Let's get some hands together, gang, for the mighty Bar-Kays.
You knew how he handled himself, his body language, how he interacted with the audience. You knew this brother here, he knows he is getting down, And then when he had the guts to take that snake and put that snake around his neck, I said, now, you know what? Larry has a lot of guts, but good God Almighty, ain't no way in the world I would put this snake around. But he did it.
The snake he turned out to be a much bigger star than I did. But it's ironic because we never intended to use the snake. It was a pet of ours. When we traveled on our tour bus, we had him in a cage at the back, and we were just watching eat. I've always been sort of amazed and intrigued with snakes. So one performance night in Nashville, Tennessee, we had to bring the snake and put him on stage. He'd just been in the cage on the side of the stage. And I just thought toward the end of the performance, I said, I wonder what would happen if I just take this snake out, put him around my neck, and just trip everybody out at the very end of the performance. So I did. The people went crazy. They went wild. And from that point on, from that night on, I had to have that snake in every performance. But I always used him in the very, very end of the performance. So if you want to see the snake, once the word got out, Larry's got a snake, Alice Cooper ain't the only one that's got a snake. I would always keep him I would bring him out at the very end of the performance. So if you wanted to see the snake, you had to go through the whole performance and hear us out.
The snake actually, we kept the snake at the house for a while, and it got out a few times. But I fed the snake. Snake was just like, you know, people have dogs now. I had a snake then, you know. I couldn't have, my gerbil didn't last long when I, you know, but, you know, when we had the snake, and I fed the snake rats or mice or whatever, chickens or whatever, and we played with the snake. You know, the times that it got out, you know, we found it and, you know, to put it back in the cage. Eventually, Mama wouldn't let that happen no more, so we had to have a keeper for the snake. But
you imagine we're coming up on 44 and 45, so they've been together for 50. We know all the ins and outs of trying to keep it together, You got to be on your knees and pay tribute and really thank God to keep that heartbeat and keep you going and keep everything true. The music has been good to us. We've been good to the music, and we're just so proud to be here. 50 years with the Barcade.
James sits back and he knows how, when he's on that stage, if you watch him playing today, his music, he is always interacting with that audience. He's interacting with the people in the audience. You may not know unless you watch him closely, but he doesn't miss it. And he can pick out people in the audience and be playing right for them, and they may not know it, or they may know it and feel it, if you know what I'm saying. But James would do that.
Cause everybody's a star and it's not a crime. Don't knock me free your mind. Cause when we see you smile, we know you're doing fine. Don't let the clouds of hurt hide away your smile. We shine, you always find it's all right after a while. Cause sometimes you get to wondering what you're gonna do. Don't let you smiling, cause someone keeps shining good for you.
Barcades is Memphis. Barcades is funk. The Barcades is the first of hits, many hits, from this Memphis, Tennessee. I'm just proud to be here. I'm honored to be one of the hosts tonight. It's going to be so much great music.
Records were going through, you know, their troubles and stuff like that, and eventually it ended up closing in 1975.
You know, I remember that sad day when Stax closed. Actually, the Barcades were the very last group to leave Stax. I mean, the very last group to physically leave. I think maybe next to us it might have been the Staple Singers, but we were there when they locked the doors. So, I mean, you know, having had no other record label other than Stax, I mean, it was a very empty feeling for the Barcades, a very big crossroad for it.
And we were the last act there before Stax closed. I mean, we were there when they actually padlocked the doors. Of course, with Stax closing, you know, we were devastated because we just really thought we were just about getting ready to, you know, get something going on.
We were managed by Alan Jones, who was our big brother mentor. And he said to us, he said, guys, he said, you gotta make a choice here. He said, you can break up now and give up, or you can stay together, stick together, find you a place to play, and continue on, and things will get better. You know, you'll find your way. And sure enough, we found this club called the Family Affair, man. We stayed there for a solid year, And in the daytime, we would rehearse and start to write, write stuff for whatever was to come in the future. And there we wrote Shake Your Rump to the Funk, Too Hard to Stop, which ended up being the title of the album. And ultimately, we were turned on to Mercury Records. And we got our second deal. Very, very huge deal for us. Jim Zimbo was our attorney at that time. It's a huge deal.
We signed with Mercury Records in 1976. And then the way that came about is we met a gentleman at Mercury Records called, his name was Charlie Fash. He was the president of Mercury Records at the time, and he had an interest in Memphis. So our booking agent set up a showcase for us down here in Memphis. Charlie Fash came down to Memphis. He saw the group, and he signed us. And we came up with this little idea called Shake Your Rump to the Funk.
Just let the music make you high. Bring that rhythm when you dance. Don't let this feeling pass you by. We hit the groovy so deaf. Now everybody party, come on, now let's get started.
We went in the studio and recorded that and sent that to Charlie Fash, who was at Mercury Records. He was the president in Chicago, and he loved it. He said, we want to put this song out. He said, but we're going to put this song out, but y'all got to get an album together. So we didn't have enough songs on no album. But we did get to put that song out in the spring of 1976. And that really kind of like started the ball to rolling.
The Bar-Kays kept on being Stax and kept on being the Bar-Kays and kept on moving to another level. And as times changed, it's amazing how they were able to make the adjustment and change with the times.
We just have a unique thing about us. We, believe in changing with the times, and we don't really. I think one of the things that kept us going, most of all, is we don't never get too full of ourselves. Some of these groups, they, if they're women, they're divas. Everybody just all, with these egos and all this stuff like that. I learned a long time ago, when you come to work with me, leave your ego at the door. And, that kind of like stuck with us.
What do you expect tonight, Mr. Clay?
A whole lot of funk.
A whole lot of funk. I know
And
that's
most
right.
definitely, you're gonna get some good soul singing. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You know, so hey, if there are any young people coming out tonight, you will get a chance to learn. Get your pen and your paper out, because if you don't know how to do it for 50 years, then you ain't doing it right.
I know.
Wattstax. It was our opportunity. We didn't know it then, but we played before 100,000 people in the LA Coliseum.
Ladies and gentlemen, right about now, the soulful, funky sounds of the Barcade!
It's been said many times in many places that freedom is a road seldom traveled by the multitude. But we would like to invite each of you to come and go with us, and perhaps you'll see a side of life that you've never seen before.
I'm the son of a bitch! I wanna be like my dad.
Being on stage at that moment, I mean, it was mesmerizing. Looking at 100,000, looking out and seeing 100,000 people, calm, nobody doing anything goofy or anything, totally tuned in to us. And it was a good day for the band. Band sounded good, we looked good. In fact, they used our portion of the show as the trailer for the movie, ultimately for Wattstax, and part of the poster was our performance, which I guess a lot of the other acts didn't really like, but it was amazing, man. It's a time I'll never forget. It was the biggest moment that we had up until that point. Son of Shaft was a big record, and just to be a part of all of that, all of the amazing talent that was there. I mean, you know, it was a good feeling.
This is back in I forget, it was either 1969, 1970, whenever it was. But that was major, and that was amazing. That sticks out in my mind.
I was born and raised on 45th Street, had the problems of a man at the age of 3. Now my daddy's bad, I've been told, so my family name, I must love, I love the clock, and I live
on that. Every time you open your mouth, it's got to be right. And the band was on. It was a good night for the band, and it was a good night for the band.
Another thing that sticks, I mean, you know, 50 years, man, there's so many memorable moments. Another thing that sticks in my mind is when George Clinton, who at this particular point had the Mothership, and he was getting ready to do the Mothership tour. And I found out about it, and I flew to where he was and asked him, could we be on the Mothership tour? he said, yes. I didn't really believe him. I mean, I asked him about 3 or 4 times. I said, man, look, I said, I don't think you heard me. I came up here to talk to you about being on the Mothership tour. And George Clinton, he's smoking, taking puffs off his weed. He said, I don't think you heard me. I said, you got it. That year, the Mothership tour went all across America, sold out every big venue in the country. There was no Staples Centers at the time. There was the Fabulous Forum in LA. Sold out to San Diego Sports Arena, sold out to Oakland Alameda Coliseum, the Memphis Mid-South Coliseum, sold out we even sold out Soldiers Field in Chicago. We sold out Madison Square Garden in New York. I mean, we sold out every major venue in the country.
Probably one of my favorite cuts is Anticipation. It was, you remember some of the sessions because some of them you nail it, and sometimes you have to kind of keep doing it till you do nail it. Anticipation was it was one of those evenings where it only took a couple of takes to get it, which is always good for me. It was a very romantic song, and I tell you something that I do remember. People wonder about the trombone solo in it, why it was a little long. Even though it was very cool, when we were doing that part of the session, the Temptations sneaked into the studio, and Frank Thompson was doing the trombone solo, and he got so mesmerized when he saw the Temptations, he kept fooling around and messing up, and so we had to keep taking it. But Eddie, David Ruffin, and it was actually at the time when they were doing the reunion, so they all had come in. They were in town. But that was just something that was very, very cool for us, and we had a great time in that session.
It was the Bar-Kays and George Clinton and P-Funk, Parliament Funkadelics. But it was those two that were creating, I hate this term, but those genres, that genre of music that never got the recognition that it should have gotten, but they had hit product on it, and it was because they were creative. I mean, when Isaac did his Shaft and it exploded, they were creative enough to go in the studio at the same time. While this record is one of the biggest records in America, a phenomenon around the world, they go in and record Son of Shaft. I mean, he said, this is crazy. I mean, what are you going to do? But they did it. They did it. They made it original, and their Son of Shaft was hitting and selling while Shaft was selling on Isaac Hayes. That's how that creative spirit that was in all of them.
I kind of find just a smiling face, and I just focus in, and I try to make the tear come, make sure the guys hug them real tight. And when I'm out on stage, man, whether it's a love song or up-tempo, we just try to make the people feel it. If it's a ballad, we want you to hug them real tight. If we're doing the party song, we want you to get up and get into this thing at the Bar-Kays and do what we do every night.
Gonna treat you like a mother, man. I'ma make sure that I'll never hurt you. Right now, I'm giving up all of the girls that I met in the club. Right now, I'ma turn it up. I'ma be the one to make you fall in love. Right now, I'm gonna give you what you want. I'm gonna do the things that the other two don't. Tonight, I'm gonna make believe it's your birthday.
Those were some guys that really know how to get the party started. it was music to my ears, and if there's a such thing as music to your eyes and your ears, to look out there in the audience and see everybody. I mean, most of those people, if you notice, we had a just a wide variety of people there. You know, black, white. I mean, people on walkers, crutches, old people, young people. I mean, I even saw some people with, you know, with oxygen. You know, had the oxygen thing with the oxygen tanks and all that stuff like that. But all of them, man, they stayed to the end, and most of those people stood up most of the show. That's amazing to me, and that's and you know, we just want people to remember us like that. I mean, hey, those were the guys that get the party started, keep the party rocking.
We've made a lot of incredible music, man. I mean, not many bands have been around this long to stay together, play together, and still have, through the peaks and valleys, still, you know, maintain a really, really good, a good identity on stage and off stage, and we've done that, man.
I mean, you know, generally speaking, you know, when one era passes and another era comes along, the artists that were of that previous era become, as they say today, old school or yesterday or whatever the case might be. And in many instances, they lose whatever it was they had that made them attractive to the people of that era that they were a part of. Bar-Kays, from era to era, changed, but never lost in changing their identity. You always knew that's the Bar-Kays. They're doing what people are appreciating today, but they're doing it the Bar-Kays way. Because Bar-Kays brand is always on whatever it is the Bar-Kays are doing. I mean, and it's been like that from day one until present day. But I love all of the music. I mean, I love the Bar-Kays.
I have to say, much of what we have accomplished is because of the tenacity of James Alexander, who's just a very hard worker. I mean, he's like Al. He's one of the few guys I know that remembers everybody's name, everybody's face. I've learned so much from him. He's encouraged me as a singer. I've learned a lot from him, and we're best friends. Never had bad words. Never, through all these years, we've never argued. You know, I mean, never fought. So that's amazing. It's been a wonderful ride, man. But I hadn't thought about. I guess when you're making all this music, you're so into it, you don't really understand. I Googled myself once just to see how much music that I've been involved in writing. It was amazing. I mean, I was there for hours, and my God, I forgot all of it, but the people have.
We still are the guys that just really just don't take ourselves too, you know, that serious. You know, it ain't about that. It's about, I mean, life is, you know, full of serious stuff. I mean, we just, we want people to come to our situation, man, and just be an outlet. Hey, don't wear nothing too tight. You know, women don't wear no shoes that hurt your feet. You know, if the shoes start hurting your feet, take them off. If the wig ain't right, take it off. It's all right. You know, it's all right. Just come with us and have a party.
And I guess when it's all over, I guess we, for me, I just want the people to remember the band as a band. They gave it all they had for as long as they could. And made you forget a lot of the bad things that was going on outside of your world. And we brought you into our world. Whenever you looked at the Bar-Kays and had a chance to come around the Bar-Kays and listen to our music, we made you feel really, really good.
Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. You're such a motivated and a hot, sure of that, yeah. I wanna take you home and tenderly, like you loving, you girl. Look at your mama, big fine girl, that here on my creek, yeah, so yeah. If you're on my phone, girl, on my